Okay. The recording has started. So I want to welcome everyone. And thank you so much for attending today. We've got some new faces and I'm so glad to see everyone. Every single time I hear anyone speak about Wesley House, I learn something new. So I can't wait to hear Kara Finger's presentation today. As I said, we're recording it. So watch the messenger for the link if you want to rewatch it or share it with someone who might have missed it. And as I said, I've muted everyone for the meeting, but if you want to speak, just remember to unmute yourself. We also have several attachments included in the chat area, and I hope you'll access them and save them for future use. And I'll reference them as we go here for a moment or two. The purpose is included. It's such an important part of being a United Methodist woman, and we don't get to see or read it much with us not being in person. So just take reference to that. There's a fairly long list of joys and concerns in the attachments. We have so many special people to remember. Please take a look at it. Maybe you already have. And now or later, if you see something to add or someone to add, please just unmute yourself and tell me. Or you're very welcome to email or text or call me later with the information. Any updates or anything new on that list, I'd greatly appreciate knowing about. Several books have been added, 9 to be exact, to the United Methodist Women Library at Church Street. And that list is also included in the chat attachments. And while the church is still scaling up for us to drop by the library, if you need to check books out, just let Susan, Dominic, or me know, and we will find a way to get them to you. I encourage you to be a part of that reading program. Yes, Jean?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat. I don't know if anybody else is. I'm thinking it might not be working.
Once I get a break, I'll see if I can add them again. Thank you for telling me. There's also a list, or there will be, of upcoming events. And I don't want to go over them all, but I do need to highlight a few of them. UMW Sunday is coming up this Sunday with our rehearsal and greeter and usher training because of COVID. This Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. And if you can't attend on Sunday, we have already recorded an online service, also led by our United Methodist women. So we'll actually have 3 services made up of UMW this Sunday. Our mission work day in partnership with the Beacon of Hope and our church missions committee is this Saturday from 9 to 2, when we'll be packing food buckets for Zimbabwe. We'll be packing 20,000 Operation Inasmuch meals for local ministries, which Church Street United Methodist women helped to purchase. Thanks much to the great gift from Kay Bradley and Rob Tanner. And we'll be packing UMCOR kits. And in addition to that, there's an opportunity to work at Wesley Foundation at UT doing building improvements. And you can access the messenger or the church website to sign up for those. Should be a fun Saturday. Socially distanced, of course. Also, Isaiah 117 House in Knoxville is holding their annual fundraising luncheon on May 18th next week, in person at noon at Buffett Heights Baptist Church. they will be speaking to us at our October general meeting, and we're going to sponsor a table. If you're interested in attending with me, please raise your hand. It's free. Or let me know, either an email or a text or call or whatever. Jean, I saw your hand raised. I'll add you.
Is it
And
at noon?
yes, it's at noon. And Susan, you can come too. Good.
Say again what the event is, please.
It's Isaiah 117 house. I don't know how much you know about it, but
I know nothing about it.
Nothing about it. It's an organization that takes the place of the social workers' offices, literally, where the children who have been removed from their homes stay until they are placed in emergency foster care. So this is going to be a home. I think it's about 4 bedrooms somewhere in Knoxville that will house. It'll be a beautiful home that will house these children for the few hours or sometimes several days until they get into their foster home. So, of course, they'll tell way more about it. I've heard the story, and well, I cry about everything, but I cried. I hope you'll consider coming with us. Our next book review is next Wednesday. It's the 19th at 1:30, and you can watch the messenger and your emails for the details about it. But we'll discuss a documentary called Perfect 36, When Women Won the Vote, ratifying the 19th Amendment. It chronicles the dramatic vote to ratify this amendment and the years of debate about women's suffrage that preceded it. The focus will be on Tennessee's role. We would love for you to join us on Zoom. And if you can't join us, we'll have a recording of it that we'll publicize in the messenger. The Gifts and Goodies sale was a huge success on Saturday, with funds raised for mission in excess of $1,400. I want to thank everyone who contributed items and all those who purchased items and worked the day of the event, but especially to Katie Stranges, Ann Rigo, Susan Dominic, and Elizabeth Parker for leading this wonderful event. Whoever would think we could do this online 2 times in 1 year and then both be so successful.
Actually, when it finished out, Jana, it was more like $1,600, and that does not include the donations, because there were several people that just made monetary donations instead of purchasing or contributing contributing items. So I would say, yeah, it was amazing, and it's so much fun. We really had a good time Saturday.
That's great. Thank you so much. We won't meet again until September, so watch your emails over the summer for periodic summer updates. Pledges and pledge contributions are always needed. Please send them to Kim Casimir, our treasurer, and her address will be included in an attachment in the chat too. Of course, it's in the yearbook also, but with that, I'll ask Pat Bellingrath to lead us in our devotion and prayer and review of the prayer calendar.
Good morning. Oh, I can't say sorry. Okay, today we want to wish a happy birthday from the prayer calendar to Kazad Kaloum Eves, who is on the staff. And then I wanted to share the mission focus for today and for tomorrow, because I think they're both just wonderful examples of where some of our money goes. The mission focus today is in Zimbabwe. It is the United Methodist Church of Zimbabwe, supports a project to empower women and young girls from Mesvingo. Also, poultry production to restart the livelihood of 150 women and girls after Cyclone Day and floods, as well as business management and leadership skills. And the mission focus for tomorrow, and this is where a lot of our money goes, is for scholarships. And the scholarship recipient for this next school year is Jatai Pepsi. And the scholarship, she will use the scholarship to pursue an MS degree in wildlife ecology and environmental biology at the University of Calabar in Nigeria. I think that's a pretty good use of our funds. And then I wanted to share just a brief devotion from the new study book for 2021. It's called Bearing Witness in the Kingdom. I know some of you have heard me talk about it. And I was reading it last night, and I had another devotion planned, but I came across this and I wanted to read this today. It's attributed to St. Patrick. I arise today through a mighty strength, the invocation of the Trinity, through belief in threeness, through confession of the oneness of the Creator of creation. Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ above me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ when I lie down, Christ when I sit down, Christ when I arise, Christ in the heart of every man who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me, Christ in the eye of everyone that sees me, Christ in every ear that hears me. I arise today through a mighty strength, the invocation of the Trinity, through belief in the threeness, through confession of the oneness of the Creator of creation. Amen and amen. Christ precedes, surrounds, and follows us, lest we fool ourselves into thinking that we bring Christ to our neighbors. We remind ourselves that Christ is already there. We bless God when we bless each other. Let us pray. Christ, fill us with your Spirit. Breathe into us the breath of life again and again. Allow us to see your image in each other. Inspire our hearts and minds to disrupt injustice in whatever forms they may present themselves. Lord, listen to your children praying. Send us love, send us power, send us grace. Amen.
Now I'll call on Susan to introduce our speaker.
Okay. We are truly fortunate today to have Kara Finger as our guest speaker. She is the executive director of the Wesley House. A lot of you are familiar with the Wesley House, but let me just give you a little, well, before I say that, the Wesley House was founded in 1907 and is a community center with a long history of service to low-income families in Knoxville. It's amazing to me that the Wesley Center started, the Wesley House started in 1907. Right now, we have, well, I'll let Kara tell you about that. But the services are so comprehensive and so meaningful to our community. Kara is now a member of the what am I trying to say? Knoxville class of 40 under 40, the class of 40 under 40. She is a dynamic speaker. She's a wonderful director. And like I said, we are very fortunate to have her. So please welcome. I wish we could clap, but we can't. So welcome, Kara. Thank you. Yes, we can do it virtually. Thank you.
Hi, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I was telling everybody earlier that KUB is doing some work on our building and our internet has been in and out. So I just decided to hop on my phone and turn off the Wi-Fi so I wouldn't have any interruptions or disruptions. So thank you so much for having me. I wish that we could be in person and maybe eventually we can be, but I'm just so thankful to be here and thankful that you all thought of Wesley House. I am learning the more speaking engagements that I do that I just assume that all Methodists know everything about Wesley House, and I'm learning that that's not true. And so I'm going to go back from the beginning and tell you and be pretty thorough. So I apologize for those of you who already know the story and are familiar with it, but I've learned that that was a bad assumption that I made, that not all Methodists know about us. So as Susan already mentioned, we were founded in 1907. We were founded to support Brookside Mills. And so Brookside Mills was a cotton or a textile mill. And actually the Methodist women noticed that, hey, these children are left in the parking lot. They're unattended. This is not safe. How can we support these working families? And that is how the Wesley House, it was called a settlement house in 1907, started. And since then, the Methodist Church has been such a huge part of our history, our roots, and such an important piece of our fabric. And we are so honored to claim that, own that, and we yell it from the rooftops, especially the Methodist women. We're so grateful for all that you guys have started, because without you all, we wouldn't be here. And our history and our legacy and our service and our mission would not be here. So we were founded in 1907, and fast forward to today, and we are still serving working families who are under-resourced and marginalized. This past year, we intentionally cut down our numbers. We wanted to keep all of our rooms with no more than 10 children in them for the pandemic. So we served 68 children this past year. With the numbers going in the direction that they're going, we're looking at increasing that for our summer camp. And we actually have almost 75 students enrolled for summer programming, which we're really excited about that as well. So going back to our history, though, I got ahead of myself. I'm excited. I'm excited for our programs and to talk about that. So we've been serving children since 1907. That's always been a primary focus of ours, is how can we effectively serve youth and support working families. But in the 1940s, we saw that our senior citizens were extremely isolated, needed support, and needed a community. And that is when we started our WISE program, our Wellness and Senior Education program, that we affectionately and lovingly refer to as our Granny program. So right now we're serving 23 grannies. The purpose of that, again, is to provide a hot, warm, nutritious meal once a week. And we call it Fun, Food, and Fellowship. And we've been doing that again since the 1940s. So such a long history with our seniors, and something that we're really proud of and really thankful to have. Every Friday we get together, we serve, again, a nice, nutritious meal. And then our seniors play bingo for basic necessity household items. So we're talking about toilet paper, paper towels, laundry detergent, dishwashing liquid, you name it, it is on the table for them to bingo and win as a prize. The average income of our seniors is anywhere from $600 to the most our senior makes is about $750 a month. So once you take out rent, food, utilities, there's not a lot of extra money left over for them. And so that's where we feel like we step in and really support our seniors. The pandemic year was a really, really challenging year for them. We knew that it was not safe for them to meet in person. And so as soon as the first case hit Knox County, we stopped our senior program. So that was in March of 2020. And we did not meet until all of our seniors received a vaccine and were fully vaccinated. So we just started meeting again 3 weeks ago. And let me tell you, it has been so joyful to be together with them. Their laughter, their jokes, their phrases, their sayings. It is so great to be together with them. And just to show you how critical our senior program is, there's a lot of research and a lot of data out there that shows that social isolation for seniors actually does more physical harm than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. And we ended up losing 3 of our seniors in 2020. It was a really rough year, but we know that that community that they've built with one another is critical for them mentally and physically as well. So we're so glad. It is literally life or death for them. And we're so glad that we're able to get back together and fellowship with them again. So we've talked about 2 of our programs. So our child or youth program, and then our senior program. And then we have a 3rd core program, which we refer to as our emergent needs program. When the Methodist women founded us in 1907, it was to serve the Mechanicsville, Lonsdale, Beaumont community. And we take that mission today very seriously. And we understand that when we're serving under-resourced and low-income communities, that there are going to be emergent needs that come up, and we want to be there to fill in the gap and stand there, because we have an incredible church support behind us that will help push us along. So in March of 2020, we realized that when school shut down, that we needed to support our families with food. And that is when we started the food pantry. We started it because it was an emergent need. Our families needed support. They needed food. They did not have the financial resources to afford like some other folks did. They couldn't afford to buy 2 to 5 packs of toilet paper. They couldn't afford to buy multiple cans of items. So they were at a disadvantage. So when they went to the grocery store, if they were out until the next time they got their food stamps. And that is how we knew we've got to fill in the gaps. We've got to stand in here and support our families in this way. And so honestly, without the Methodist Church, we would not have been able to get that up and running. 98% of our food pantry is donated by the Methodist Church. So we are so thankful and so grateful to have that support, because we would not be able to do this ministry without you all. In September of 2020, we as a team took a vote and said, all right, what are we doing with the food pantry? What do we want the future to look like? And our team voted that even after the pandemic, after we see the end of the pandemic, we feel like this is still an emergent need for our community. And we voted unanimously as a team to keep the food pantry around. And so that is a core program that we have. We feel like it's an important ministry. And 2 days a week, we have a mobile food pantry. And so we are out in the Mechanicsville, Lonsdale, Beaumont communities, feeding the families, letting them grocery shop in our van, in our vehicle, and getting to know them better and letting them know that we are there to support them. So it has been an incredible adventure. We had no idea what we were doing when we started it, and to see it become what it has been such an amazing thing, and we're really grateful for that. We do after school care, which I've talked about during the school year, but we also have a summer camp program. Our summer camp program, we're open 50 hours a week. So parents can drop off at 7:30 a.m. We provide breakfast, lunch, and a snack. And our primary focus for our summer camp is to prevent educational regression for our students. We know that our students are going to under-resourced schools. Sometimes they're failing schools, and our students are at a disadvantage academically. And so we are there to support them, make sure that they're getting their needs that they have in the summer so they don't fall further behind in the summer months. And then we also provide enrichment activities. And basically what that means is 4 times a week, we are taking the kids on field trips. So they're usually active field trips, educational field trips, you name it. We've got a good variety and a good mix in there. So one thing that we do every week is we always go swimming. Usually every other week we go to the skating rink. We always go to the zoo. We go to several parks throughout, so we try to do some free things for the budget in there as well. And then we also we try to put a variety of things. So we go to the Lost Sea, we go to the aquarium. We're trying to take our students and our youth to different places, expose them to as many opportunities as possible. And so the field trips are always a favorite for our kids. So just a personal story, and I don't know, I know some of you, and I've had the opportunity to meet and talk to some of you, but I haven't, just until recently, I haven't felt comfortable, honestly, sharing my personal story, but I've gotten more comfortable and I've learned how to frame it. And so I wanted to share with you all just how important Wesley House has become to me. I joke and tell everybody that, you know, I came to Wesley House for the kids, I stayed for the grannies. I knew how important the work that we were doing was. There is a child care epidemic in our country, and it is definitely in Knoxville as well. And I'm proud that we offer affordable and quality childcare for $19 a week. And just to tell you how affordable it was in the 1970s, it cost $15 a week to send their child to Wesley House. So we've only increased $4 since 1970. I knew that was important, and I knew it was critical and a critical service that we were offering. But in August of 2020, a friend of mine called me. I was actually in Florida on vacation. I had rented a house with my family and was safe and socially distanced. And my friend called me and she said, I'm in trouble and I need you to take custody of at the time she was 6 years old, my daughter. And I said, okay, I'll be back in 4 days, and we'll work through this and we'll work through some of the details. At the time, I didn't realize how bad things were for her, how bad things had gotten. Department of Children's Services got involved, and fortunately, they approved me as a guardian placement for her. And so I became a single caregiver overnight, practically. And having Wesley House support, her name is Amaya, having them support Amaya. I don't know where I would be without Wesley House. I don't know where she would be without Wesley House. When I got her in August, she was in the 8th percentile in reading. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with what that means, basically she needed extreme intervention, and there was basically a 0% chance that she would be on grade level by the end of her first grade year. I just didn't know what I was going to do and how I was going to support her, and how I was going to love her through this. And I'm happy to say she was in a reading program at Wesley House. She's above the national average for her grade level now. She loves to read, and I attribute that she's worked so hard, and trust me, she works for every single good grade that she gets. She works so hard, but honestly, Wesley House and her counselors and the love and support that she receives here deserves the credit as well. And so there was a point, it was probably in October, when I looked at our program director, Victoria, and I said, I honestly do not know what I would do without Wesley House, because I want to be good at my job and I want to be dedicated to it, but I want to make sure that Amaya is taken care of and she's got a safe place to go and that she's well loved, because she's had a rough past 6 years, and Wesley House has done that, and so much more. And it's incredible, the people that we have in place and the support that we have in place. And so again, I haven't shared that story with a lot of people, but I finally feel comfortable talking about it and framing it. So Wesley House means so much more to me than I ever realized when I took this job almost 2 years ago to the day. It means so much more to me than I ever realized, or ever knew that it could mean to me. So a few other things that I want to talk about, and then I want to talk about the future of Wesley House, where we want to go, what the vision is, and what we have in store, because that is what really gets me excited to talk about. So a few things about our after school programming that I think really sets us apart from other after school programs is that we have positive behavior reinforcement. And so we do not expel or suspend students for any reason. We know that when we expel or suspend students, that's lost wages for our families. Most of our families, about 82% of our families, their jobs do not offer paid time off. So if they don't have childcare, they do not get paid. And so we made that commitment 2 years ago to say, we're going to figure out how to redirect behavior and negative behavior internally in our house. So our parents know that they can go to work and they can be at work and they can be present at work, and we're going to work with them to work through negative behaviors that we're seeing. So we do community service. We got a lot of cleaning around the building, and the kids will tell you if they get in big trouble, they've got community service that they have to do. We also do apology letters. We do a thing called 5 through 1. So if a child is feeling anxious, or we can feel them getting worked up, we say, okay, 5 through 1. And so they basically have to list 5 things they see, 4 things they can touch, 3 things they can hear, 2 things that they can smell, and 1 thing that they can taste. And that helps them, okay, calm down, breathe, and then also notice their surroundings. We have cool down corners in all of our rooms. So if a child gets worked up, gets frustrated, feels like they're being made fun of, feels like they're getting bullied, they can go to the cool down corner. They each have things that they can fidget with, and just work through some of those emotions. And then when they're feeling calm and collected, they can come back and join their class again. But all of that, again, is in the class, because we don't want the students to miss any educational enrichment activities that we have. We want them to hear, we want them to see, that we want them to be a part of that. And then again, we have a curriculum coach on staff, and she plans out and works through all of our educational enrichment activities. So we have 3 core things that we want our children to walk away with here every day. Those are spiritual. So we have a spiritual focus. Our curriculum coach works through how are we pouring into our children? How are we teaching them about Jesus, about the Bible? And they're getting something like that every day when they're here. The second thing is the educational enrichment activities. So she's working with teachers. What are our children struggling with? What are they excelling in? How are we balancing that so that our children feel successful academically? And then that third is that emotional component. We want our students to be emotionally smart, emotionally well, and emotionally whole. And so we are working on right now a compassion project. And so our kids are learning how to be compassionate. What does it mean to be compassionate? Show compassion towards others and feel compassion. And that's just one component. We also have a few other things planned that our curriculum coach is working on. So y'all pray for her, because we've given her a big job and she's doing a great job at it. But she's got a lot to work through and a lot to do. So next, I just want to talk about the future of Wesley House and where we're going. So since 1907, we have been operating under the Tennessee state law that exempts us from receiving a license, which has been really well, and it's worked. It's worked okay for us. When I came here, the first piece of feedback that I got from a very vocal parent who I've come to love and appreciate, because she is very honest with me, and you need that in your job always, is that we're not open enough. She's like, you guys are closed more than you're open, and we need you. We need you to be open. And what I've realized is that operating under those exemptions don't allow us to be open as much as we need to be for our parents. And so about a year ago, we started down this journey to become a licensed facility. This will provide so many more opportunities and so much more training and education for our team. and then also provide so much more opportunities for our families so we can serve our families better. So right now, the state offers vouchers for childcare so that parents can attend and make childcare more affordable, because we all know how expensive childcare is. And we do not qualify for those vouchers because we're not a licensed agency. But when we become licensed, the state will provide a voucher for the families, and that will cover the cost of our childcare at 100% for our families. And over 85% of our families qualify for vouchers. So that's going to be a game changer for our families and such a better opportunity to serve them in a more meaningful way. So we're really, we knew pretty early on that we needed to go in that direction. The second thing is that there are a lot of state and federal grants that are out there and available for licensed agencies. And since we're not licensed, we don't qualify for any of those. And then there was also a bunch of COVID relief funding for licensed agencies. And so we knew pretty early on that we were missing a revenue stream and that would help us become more sustainable. So we knew that we needed to move in that direction as well. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. We have some upgrades to the building that we've got to commit to, that we've got to do. We need a sprinkler system. We need, we need to replace some doors and a few things like that. But we know that we are committed to being accountable for our community and serving them in the best way possible. We know that this is the direction that we have to go in and that we have to move in. So it's a big task and it's a long task. We're looking at probably a good year to 2 years before we're through it, but we are committed to it and excited about it. So that's where we want to go. We also want to continue to serve our seniors in the best way possible. We love what we're doing. It meets a specific need for our seniors. So there's nothing really that we want to change there. We want to keep doing what we're doing. We do need people though to host lunches on Friday. So if you or anybody you know is interested in hosting a lunch, we've got a lot of lunches available in June, July, and August. So if you are interested in that, please let me know. And then lastly, with our food pantry, we want to keep expanding that. We love the work that we're doing. We're open 5 days a week for our community, and anyone that can get to Wesley House will be served through our pantry. We know that that's unique and different than what a lot of food pantries are doing. We want to keep doing the mobile food pantry. The other thing that we like about our food pantry that we want to keep growing and expanding is that we serve perishable food items. So we have milk, cheese, meats, eggs, you name it, we've got it. And it's just an important piece for our families when they walk in to see, oh, there's ground beef here, there's eggs, there's milk. We also try to keep diapers and formula because that's a huge expense. That can be a challenge for families. So when families come in or when they come to our mobile food pantry, we don't prepackage anything. We let the family shop as if they're in a grocery store or a very small grocery store if they're in our mobile food pantry, and pick what they need. And that has been a really beautiful thing for me to see because parents are teaching their children. We keep Vienna sausages, and I'll never understand children's obsession with Vienna sausages. I think they're so disgusting, but kids love them, and we always keep them in our food pantry. And one time a child kept putting the Vienna sausages in, and the mom said, no, we've got to leave some for other families who have a need. So she let her daughter take 2 Vienna sausages and left the others for other families. So I thought that was a beautiful teaching moment. And I was so happy that I got to see it and witness it and be a part of it. So that's really all I have. I wanted to share with you today because I wanted to leave time for questions. I love hearing from you guys and love answering questions. So if it's all right with you all, I would love to hear your questions.
So please ask questions and just remember to unmute yourself.
So I have a question or two.
Yes.
This is Beth Stubbs, and I have to know, are you related to our Bishop Finger?
I get that question all the time. I'm not. I feel like somewhere I've got to be related to them because it's a very unique last name.
Yes.
So, but
Well, I have a more serious question.
Yeah.
Do you work at all with adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, with your
Yes.
children? And because I feel like that is an area that you probably have a lot of that going on, and you can really maybe make a difference.
Yes, yes. And so I would say we've got more work to do when it comes to talking and training our team about ACEs. What we've done so far is that we have gone through the ACEs with our team so that they're aware of what they are. We're in an internal disagreement over if we should give students the ACEs question. How would that re-traumatize them? We want to be cautious with that. So we haven't done anything like that. We are moving towards a trauma-informed care model. We're actually working with Cherokee Health to train our team on how to be aware of adverse childhood experiences, how that impacts our children, how that impacts their behavior, how that plays out to sometimes hitting, screaming, yelling. So yes, we've got work, but we've got work to do with that. But it's on our radar, and it's actually, we're working on our strategic plan, and it has its own place in our strategic plan as well.
Well, I enjoyed your presentation. Thank you. And I wish you lots of luck with the ACEs.
Thank you.
This is Jean Gallion, and hi. I want to know what your hours are for the mobile pantry, because you have to find times when parents are home, I think.
Yes, and so that's an area for strengthening for us, Jean, to your point. So right now, we are going from anywhere from 10 to 1. We have in certain neighborhoods, Lonsdale Homes specifically, and Western Heights specifically, we have a point person there. And so if there's anything that wasn't taken on the mobile food pantry, we'll leave there on their porch, and then they let the community know that they can come at any time. We also will take requests too. And so we know, okay, this family A, B, or C has a specific need for formula. So we're going to be sure to put that on there and put it on their porch. But we're building the plane as we're flying it. So we've got some improvements to make when it comes to that. We did just move. We created a full-time position. When we made that commitment to the pantry, we created a full-time position for the food pantry. And so that will free up, because before we had a counselor doing both. So she couldn't be there when the kids got there. And so now we've taken care of that, and we're trying to work through how we can be more available to people who really need us.
Well, also, what happens on the other days? Can people pick things up at Wesley House, or?
Yes. Anytime. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I just wondered how that works.
Yes. So anytime that our building is open, the food pantry is open. So if people can get here, we do have a bus stop right in front of our entrance. And so if people can get here, they can come to the food pantry.
Well, I echo Beth. I too enjoyed your presentation so much. I thought I knew a lot about Wesley House, and I've learned a ton.
Good. Thank you.
This is Sylvia Davis. I do have a few questions. One is kind of a personal question. What is your background that made you want to apply for the job?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. So my degree is actually in family studies. I graduated from University of Tennessee, and I worked at Big Brothers Big Sisters for 12 years. I had no desire to leave. I was very happy in my role there. I was the vice president of programs, and I had not one but two colleagues text me 3 days apart and say, "Hey, have you seen the executive director position at Wesley House is open?" My first colleague that texted me, I ignored it. The second colleague that texted me, I said, "Okay, God, I hear you. Maybe I need to pay attention to what you're doing or what you're trying to tell me." So I knew a little bit about Wesley House because I'd worked with Tim Adams, who was executive director for 8 years here. But I went on the website, refreshed myself about the mission, the work. One of my biggest passions is equitable education for youth. And so when I saw the educational enrichment activities with that spiritual and emotional component, that's where when I knew, I was like, okay, I understand where you're calling me. God, I understand. And so I applied, I submitted my cover letter and resume, and and I mean this in the most humble way possible, I left my first interview and I told God, I was like, this job is for me. I can feel it. I can feel it. I was nervous. I'd never really interviewed for a job before. I'd just kind of fallen into these positions prior. And the board selected me. So it was definitely a calling, because I know I probably would still be at Big Brothers Big Sisters, but it was the education component, and then that whole service, the whole family, 2-generation support that Wesley House took, that really drew me into it.
And I have another question too.
Yeah.
What about the ages of the people that you serve? I mean, we've talked about after school care, and do you do a preschool as well? And what kind of teenage activities are involved? You know, just kind of the range, the scope of the under 21 set.
Great question. I apologize. That's something that I should have mentioned. So currently we don't offer any services to preschoolers. That is on the program directors and my maybe 10-year strategic plan, is to provide support to our families for that younger age range. Right now we serve kindergarten through 8th grade. And that is our focus. And we do a really great job with elementary school students, keeping them engaged. Our middle school program and our strategic plan is something that we really want to revamp and work on. That's the age that parents start feeling a little bit more comfortable leaving their child at home alone. And we know that that's a really critical age. So we're trying to figure out how can we make Wesley House more appealing for them. And then for our senior program, we serve 65 and up. Our oldest senior is 95.
I think that covers me.
I have a question, Kara.
Yes.
How do you get the children to you for after school care?
We go and pick them up.
Okay.
And so we go this year, we cut down our schools quite a bit, just for COVID and trying to be very strategic, so that we didn't, to mitigate the spread. And so we served 8 schools this year, and we go and pick them all up.
So that means that when you have $19 did you say week or month?
A week.
A week. That's for after school care, because you don't do infant and child care during the day.
Correct.
Do you have room or is your building full, or when this happens that you can get vouchers, I think you'll see your enrollment rise. Do you have room for that? No. We are almost busting at the seams as it is right now. We've got some ideas to get us through our 3-year strategic plan that account for that anticipated enrollment when we accept vouchers, because the state will start advertising for us when we accept vouchers. So we've got some ideas for that, and that we know longer term, 5 to 10 years, we're going to have to really look to figure out a longer term solution. We love this building. It's so important. We love the history that it holds, the location. It's so critical and so close to our roots and who we are. So we've got some tough decisions to make in the next 5 to 10 years. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Janice Hickson, Kara, Wesley House is my passion. And I was on the board for years, and I would like to add to your knowledge
I'm thrilled that you're having a pantry again. This is not the first time Wesley House had a pantry. They had a pantry years ago at the other location when Sandy Bates was the director. And I would like to tell a story of something that Sandy said to me one time. People would question her about people coming to get food and how they knew that they really needed it. And she said, well, they kind of monitor who comes and how often and everything. But she said, the bottom line says, scripture says you throw your bread on the waters. And that's my philosophy in everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking care of people, you're showing the love of God. And if it seems to some people that they're people who don't deserve it or getting the services, it doesn't matter. They're still getting the love and we're representing God.
Yeah.
So that's my sermon for the day.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, Jana.
Kara, this is Beth Stubbs again. And if you'll tell me a little bit more offline about what hosting a lunch is, I'll be glad to do that in June.
Yes, yes.
Unless I'm taking on something that's crazy.
No, we make it as easy as possible.
Okay, good.
And I was just thinking that I was going to get our circle. I know that our circle will do one, at least one. So
Okay.
that's two. This is Jean.
I'm writing this down, so if I don't write it down, I'll forget.
I don't want to step in for Jana, but maybe the executive board could do one. But I'm just going to say, just saying.
I imagine from this conversation, there'll be many groups, individuals or groups that will want to participate.
I
I
love
think
that.
you're right. I think you're right.
And more than once.
Love
Anybody else have questions?
Can I have bragging rights?
Absolutely.
I was on the board for years and years and years, and now my daughter, Katie Logan's on the board. So the legacy continues. And I'm so proud of her.
I have to say one more thing, and that's about Janice. For years and years and years at Church Street, Janice was Ms. Wesley House. I can't imagine the amount of money she raised through garage sales, just the time she spent, the stories she shared. It's amazing. We owe you so much, Janice. Thank you so much for all that service.
And she still continues.
Well, it all comes back to you in blessings. So it's a selfish thing you do.
And several of us have sent you children to work in Wesley House. I know my son has many, many times been to Wesley House.
Yes. Thank you. I love it.
This is Sylvia Davis again. I have another question.
Yes.
You said that you do fresh produce and stuff of that nature.
Mhm.
We have a garden, and if
Mhm.
we have overruns, is it something that we could just walk in and say, here?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Yes.
We tried to give some to various places last year because we had so much, and they said, I'm sorry, we can't take it because of COVID. Now, I'm assuming that is not a limit for you.
No.
Okay.
And actually a lot of, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I guess I'd mentally blocked that part out with COVID, but so many food pantries closed altogether during COVID. And so we would accept whatever they had left still, and we would clean it, wipe it, make sure it was safe. But yes, it's not a barrier for us at all. And we try to keep everything as clean and safe as we possibly can, knowing that the COVID is still around, the pandemic is still going. We definitely don't want to forget that.
Yeah, well, my husband and I both have our shots, and we're probably the only ones that are going to touch it. So hopefully it'll be okay.
Anybody else? Well, I want to ask before we close, for role purposes, I'm trying to figure out the identity of the screen name Nanny's IPA. Does anybody know, or will you let me know?
I think that is Jenny Pointer, but I'm not really sure. Or I know she's in Circle 6 because I see it all the time. It's either Kay Luttrell or Jenny Pointer, I believe.
Okay.
Shirley, do you know? Okay.
I'm glad you recognize it. That's the most important thing. Okay, I want to thank you, Kara, so very much for such an informative presentation. Many of us routinely support Wesley House, as you've heard, and will continue to do so. And I assure you that you can expect our Church Street United Methodist Women individuals and circles and or the whole unit to support your efforts in the near and long-term future. We're with you for sure. And I want to say I took a tour recently. I went to drop some games off, and I'd never been in, I'm afraid to say. I've done all kinds of other things for Wesley House, but I'd never been inside. And during COVID, they actually offered to take me around, and I couldn't believe my eyes. And the potential, I mean, what you do and the potential of what you can do. It's just so very exciting. A huge need filled by Wesley House for sure.
Yes, thank you. And again, I cannot reiterate how critical the support you all provide to us is. I mean, we just couldn't do what we do. And I sincerely mean that. It's unbelievable what you all do. And if we have a need, I can put it out there and it's covered in no time. And it's so nice to have that level of support.
Well, Kara, I told our church council once about a year and a half ago, if you want, and I haven't regretted these words yet. I said, if you want something done, ask United Methodist Women. So I tell you the same. Let us know specifically if a need arises that you think fits us, or if a need arises that you can't feel otherwise, and we'll do our best to come through.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
As we leave, let us remember those in our church and our community who need us. Please take care of yourself over the summer break, and I can't wait to hopefully see you in person at United Methodist Women meetings in the fall. Have a great day.
See you Sunday.
Thank you. See you Sunday.
Yes.
Thank you, Kara.
Great.
Jana, I looked in the chat and I don't see those messages that you said you were going to put in there. There were messages.
Always happens. I'll email them out again like I did last month.
Okay, the messages I see are from participants today.
Yeah.
Not information from you.
I don't get it. I'll email them.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. I'll see everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.